Hello everyone, Tactical Lich and welcome to the Battlefields of Omens of Destruction. Yes, we are on the battlefields of the DLC here. I'm playing as the Ogre Kingdoms versus Jaima, an Italian content creator playing as Khorne, both sides fielding some exciting DLC units. My DLC unit, one of them at least, is the Thundertusk here, a massive artillery monster. I dare say it is a bit overtuned even. Outside of its unique snowball artillery, if you look closer, it has two ogres riding on top with the harpoon, crossbow, and a javelin thrower. Capable of doing some pretty solid damage from afar, especially with the exploding snowball, devastating armored infantry. It even has better melee attack than Stonehorns at only 150 more gold than the harpoon launcher Stonehorn. It's definitely ready to trample some Khorne infantry now. As for the main ogre formation, we have a front line of nobblers, more nobbler trappers behind them, and a line of ogre bulls, plus a couple of saber-tusk pack. Leading the army is Slaughtermaster of the Great Mold with Troll Guts and Bull Gorger. Now the real focus here is actually the vanguard forces, Gorgers accompanying a Weep Ogre. Yes, the Ninja Ogre, Ashen Man-Eater sneaking around, ready to snipe out some important targets. He's basically a heroic unit at this point. Single entity having a ton of special abilities, Weeping Blade, the Marked for Ashen, reducing enemy speed, armor, and melee defense. Man-Eater Smoke Bomb to increase his own speed, melee defense, and add Unspottable. Slow down his target with Marked for Ashen and speed himself up with the Smoke Bomb should help him catch up any target, even if they're cavalry or chariots. His stats line is also like a character, 55 attack, 50 defense, plus 400 weapon strength, most of that armor piercing. The Ashen Man-Eater and the Gorgers stalk the battlefield, ready to surprise the Khorne worshippers from behind. As for Jaima's Khorne army, it's mostly an army of DLC units. Khorne Gors flanked by some marauders here. The Khorne Gors are essentially a Beastman anti-large unit, an alternate version of Borrow Blood triggering at half health, basically preventing them from getting shocked into routing, unless they unfortunately have the Unbreakable triggered at the same time as Terror Rout, locking them in Terror Routing stage. Other than that, we have some Minotools on the flank providing some anti-large armor piercing, and then the single entities here, Karanak coming in with his silencing aura, and also the Prey of the Blood God, the Flashhound Summon, and then the Hellforge Bellowers, another DLC unit here, basically an upgraded skull cannon with multi-shot per volley, 5 projectiles per volley combined with that vortex damage can certainly devastate enemy units from range, and even in melee as well, with the Hellraiser unique ability, unique passive, providing even more vortex damage when it is engaging enemies in melee combat. Combined with the self-healing ability and the Skull Feast, I definitely need to prevent any infantry or multi-entity ogre units fighting it in melee. Now for the real backbone of this army, the Slaughter Guard regiment of renowned chosens of Khorne with halberds, supported by a Blood Speaker. These guys have a unique trait called Unyielding Assault, essentially preventing their melee attack being lowered. Their stat lines is really solid with great anti-large weapon strength, solid attack and defense with flammable effect, further boosting their own flaming attack damage. All the anti-large and fire damage is the perfect counter to my Ogre Kingdoms, mostly having monster units and the fire damage cutting down my healing. And throughout the battle, they will be sustained by heals coming from the Blood Speaker on the Chaos War Shrine. The Blood Speaker does take damage from the healing ability, but with the War Shrine giving him extra health, that's negligible losses. The Blood Speaker can further boost their attack power with Wild Abandon adding plus 40 melee attack while sacrificing some melee defense, but at the same time it also prevents the entities from dying, making sure they can keep dishing out damage while the ability is active. Pilgrimage of Skulls refreshing a unit's vigor and also adding Unbreakable to them. And the rest of the buffs are basically from the Khorne War Shrine. The usual stuff really. The leadership buff of Favor of the Ruinous Power and Giver of Furious Glory that charges up with entity death around the unit. That's it for this rather long army build introduction, and now let's hop into battle and see these DLC units in action. Battle begins and Khorne opens up with a volley of the Hellforge Bellowers, blasting a chunk of health on my nobblers, but thankfully these are just cheap, valueless chaff, so it's just fine for me for them to take any losses from this artillery, as long as the artillery isn't picking away my Ogre Bulls, which are the more expensive target. Now the Thundertusk already chipping away the health of the Khorne Gors with the Ogre Riders on top. A snowball has been launched towards the Khorne Gor, but unfortunately the accuracy of the snowball is a bit questionable, mostly because the projectile speed is very low and it takes forever for it to charge up the snowball to launch. So by the time the snowball gets to the front line, and the target might have already changed direction, making the snowball miss its mark. Another volley from the Hellforge Bellowers actually staggering the Thundertusk, shutting down the snowball charge up. the Nobblers will be moving up here, trying to intercept these Khorne Gores, buying more time for the Nobbler Trappers to chip away their health with their missiles. On the far side there, you can see the Gorgers and the Man-Eater, the Ashen Man-Eater, trying to beeline for the Khorne backline. The Thundertusk charged up another snowball, launching at the elite Khorne infantry, landing straight in the middle of these Slaughter Guard, knocking out 5 of their unit models, and also leaving a dent in their HP bar. Back to the front line though, my Nobblers are buckling in front of the weight of all these Khorne Gores and even the Minotaurs charging in. The Minotaurs though being shot by the Nobbler Trappers, they don't have the most armor, so they're taking some noticeable losses, while on the far side there, the Thundertusk engaging into melee combat, crashing into the Khorne Gores, knocking them down to half health, and at the same time triggering a terror rout. Very unfortunate for the Khorne Gores, because as they drop down to less than half health, their Unbreakable also got triggered, actually locking them in that terror routing stage as long as the ability remains active. And the Thundertusk will continue to charge into another unit of infantry, inflicting charge impact damage. At the same time, the Thundertusk is taking some noticeable damage as the Slaughter Guard are saturating onto my massive monster. At the same time, seems like the Ashen Man-Eater has found his target. He might got knocked over, but you can see he already did quite some damage against the Hellforged Bellowers. Marked for Eating applied to the Skull Cannon, reducing their melee defense down to 0 and also slowing it down, allowing the Man-Eater to keep up with the Skull Cannon. With the Gorgers saturating in, the Hellforged Bellower has a really hard time getting away from the Ninja Ogre. Some Khorne Gores are here to help, but seems like the Skull Cannon will be stuck for a little longer. Back to the front line, both sides are taking losses, though it seems like Khorne is getting the upper hand with the anti-lodge from the Minotaurs, easily hacking their way through my Ogre Bulls. The Thundertusk took a lot of damage from the Slaughter Guard. A Troll Guts trying to keep the Thundertusk healthy, while the Slaughtermaster is getting hunted down by a ton of Flash Hounds here, including Khorne himself. I'll be activating the Saber-Tusk in reserve to intercept these pursuing Flash Hounds so that Slaughtermaster can try and get out of there, while the Saber-Tusk pinned down Khorne and his Silencing Collar so that my Slaughtermaster can once again use his abilities. Thundertusk now back up to 75% HP and a bit more. Will be psycho-charging enemy infantry there, though the main concern is I need to finish off the enemy anti-large units, as I don't really have a lot to deal with them in melee. Especially the Minotaurs don't really care about the snowball artillery and keep hacking down my Ogre Bulls. Good news is that the Hellforged Bellowers is getting constantly hounded by the Ashen Man-Eaters. The Ashen Man-Eaters just enough speed to keep up, 51 versus 58. And as long as there is a little bit of a charge acceleration, the Weep Ogre can actually catch the Hellforged Bellowers with a hit or two. So the Regiment of Renowned Skull Cannon will continue to run for its life while some Khorne Gores are intercepting my Ninja Ogre. Now back to the front line, my monsters are taking a lot of damage considering most of the Khorne units have anti-large, especially my Thundertusk surrounded by enemy Khorne Gores and even the Slaughter Guard once again. Trappers providing some fire support, but there are just too many Khorne units, especially when there are some Minotaurs crushing in with their anti-large great axes. The Gorgers, being a rather fragile glass cannon unit, will be quickly shut down. At least they did some psycho charging and did some damage. Thundertusk will be pushed off, actually routed away from the Slaughter God, who is still very much healthy thanks to the healing from the Blood Speaker. Speaking of healing, the Thundertusk also receiving a Troll Guts, which will help him recover some HP and return once he put enough distance between him and the rest of the Khorne units. The Ogre units nearby are just piling into a huge blob surrounding Khorne, though this creates a beautiful blob for the Hellforged Bellowers to absolutely blast away using its multi-shot vortex missiles, routing off some of my Saber-Tusk and Nobblers. But thanks to all these Ogre units, the Slaughtermaster has been spared from being sniped out by Khorne, and instead Khorne is being hacked down by a combination by the Saber-Tusk and the Ashen Man-Eater. The Thundertusk have healed up and will be returning to combat. The problem is that I don't have much of a front line left. The Gorgers are all done for and the Nobblers are routing as well, so the Khorne units are free to rush forward. The Blood Speaker dropping another heal onto the Slaughter Guard and giving them a vigor refresh, though here comes a snowball smashing into the ranks of the Slaughter Guard. Though the Slaughter Guard having a quite scattered formation now and also receiving those heals only suffered 1 unit model loss. Trappers routed by Marauders, so I'll be sending in the Thundertusk hoping to deal with those isolated Khorne infantry, while the Slaughtermaster and those Saber-Tusk can hold back in reserve. Now that Khorne has been dealt with and the Slaughtermaster is safe, I'm sending the Ashen Man-Eater once again after the Skull Cannon. Khorne Gores and Khorne Bulls trying to stop the Ashen Man-Eater, but the Ninja Ogre dodging and weaving despite his big fat belly, landing a great hit on the Hellforged Bellower. Now the Slaughter Guard and the Minotaurs are all saturating in. The Skull Cannon tried to escape, but it is slowed down by Marked for Eating. On top of that, the armor being debuffed by the Weeping Blade and the Marked for Eating as well. That helps the Saber-Tusk do a lot more damage against the Hellforged Bellower on the charge, and the Ashen Man-Eater finishing off this Khorne artillery piece. And now the Ashen Man-Eater is free to extract himself from this melee combat and try to get to safety, get some healing from the Slaughtermaster, though he might be routing soon. Khorne is trying to make the Ashen Man-Eater pay for killing the artillery, especially the Khorne Bulls having enough speed to keep up with the Ninja Ogre. But at the same time, all these blobbed up Khorne units means that the artillery, the snowball from the Thundertusk, will be doing maximum damage to these Khorne units. Another snowball coming in, this time into the Slaughter Guard once more, though the Blood Speaker somehow blocked a bit of that damage with his face. The Slaughter Guard still took some damage, but nothing too major. Now to save the Ashen Man-Eater, I'm throwing in even the Thundertusk, just hoping to stop those Minotaurs from giving chase. Seems like it's working. The Minotaurs will be routed soon. Wild Abandon can prevent them from dying, but it's not going to prevent them from taking damage or routing. Wild Abandon does reduce their melee defense significantly, making them more susceptible to incoming damage. Though here comes the Slaughter Guard saturating in with over 50 models and half health, scaring the Thundertusk away. The Thundertusk definitely do not want to trade with these guys in melee. Interesting. Seems like Slaughter Guard does have their melee attack reduced by fatigue, but even then, they're still very much healthy thanks to the Blood Speaker healing them up. I'll be throwing in some Tattered Chaff against these elites. Nobbler Trappers though will soon be routed, but at least it is fulfilling the attacking rule so that the Thundertusk can retreat as far as possible and start shooting. You can see the minimal range of the Thundertusk is actually quite far, so I'm trying to pull back the Thundertusk as far as possible before resuming shooting again. Ashen Man-Eater, who has healed up quite a bit, now going after those routed and regrouped Minotaurs of Khorne. Probably still not the greatest fight for him, taking a bunch of great axes to the face. You can see his HP dropping rapidly, but he will be using that Man-Eater Smoke Bomb trying to sustain his melee defense, slicing back those Minos with his ninja sword. The Minotaurs are trying to pull away from this engagement, and this might be a big mistake as the Ashen Man-Eater is now chasing after them, hacking down their unit models, getting some damage for free. They still have 8 models, so if they stayed and fight the Ninja Ogre, they probably could have won the fight. And then the Saber-Tusk comes in, and that should be able to break the leadership of these Minotaurs soon. On the far side, their Thundertusk continues to shoot and blasting away at the remaining health of the Slaughter Guard, now down to 46 unit models. On the far side, their Saber-Tusk pack and the Ashen Man-Eaters manage to shatter and completely finish off the remaining Minotaurs. That leaves the Slaughter Guard, the Blood Speaker, and some tattered Marauders versus the rest of my Ogre army. So Khorne is now looking for a melee fight. I won't be giving them this chance here, just leaving some Nobbler Trappers next to the Thundertusk, continues to shoot and chip away the health of the Slaughter Guard, and once the Slaughter Guard get close, the Thundertusk will retreat while the Nobblers will slow down the Slaughter Guard's advance. Ashen Man-Eater positioning himself for a rear charge and also eyeing the Blood Speaker actually. The Nobblers will now distract the Khorne units, and seems like the Thundertusk is launching a shot onto some random shattered Khorne Gores with fire at will on. Slaughtermaster is returning with some Ogres who still have quite a few unit models left. Now everyone is going in for a rear charge, trying to get a surround onto the Slaughter Guard, who will be receiving a Wild Abandon here. I'm even dropping a spell, a Trollguts, onto these Ogre Bulls, just trying to heal up even more HP on my side, as I don't really have a lot of units to heal. That gave me even more balance of power presence, and that is enough for army losses. GG to Jayama for this very fun DLC battle, and you can see the Slaughter Guard here having access to healing from the Blood Speaker and an array of buffs from this very strong Khorne leadership. They were able to sustain all the way into the late game, hacking down my large units with their elite halberd attacks, and ready to do even more damage if not for the Thundertusk shooting them with those deadly ice balls. The Blood Speaker is such a great boon to the Khorne roster. All his buffs are great. The Vigor Refresh that gives Unbreakable, the Wild Abandon that buffs melee attack, sacrificing melee defense, not that Khorne really cares about melee defense, plus preventing unit models from dying, and of course, the healing. They make the already very powerful Khorne melee even deadlier, just like how the Slaughter Guard are able to sustain through the sheer amount of healing provided by the Blood Speaker into the late game and just hack away at whatever I throw at them in melee. The rest of the Khorne units here, the Khorne Marauders, did okay, and the Khorne Gores traded really well against my Ogre Bulls. After all, they're just anti-large fighting large targets. Minotaurs though, one of them got wrecked pretty hard. I think they are the ones on the right flank being hit by a bunch of Nobbler Trappers shots and get attrition down, but these ones did really well, just cutting through my Gorgers, my Ogre Bulls and whatnot. Though the Hellforged Bellowers having a lot of good damage potential against my blobbed up units, but they're mostly just cheap chaff and constantly being hounded by the Ashen Man-Eater there, getting some very solid value from my end, as he was able to just focus down those important single entities here, Karanek and of course the Hellforged Bellower, keeping it busy, preventing it from shooting. His ability is also very nice to help him catch up with his intended targets, adding extra speed and slowing down his targeted enemy. Probably not going to be a meta unit considering how glass cannon, how fragile he is, but very fun to use for sure. The rest of the army here, the Ogre Bulls didn't do much here, being out-traded by all those Khorne anti-large, and the Nobblers also got hacked down in melee. The real MVP is actually the Thundertusk here. Getting 3,250 gold worth of damage value, you just have so much damage output. The snowball to crush enemy infantry, his charging, stomping attack as well, and on top of that, the missiles on his back just keep chipping away the enemy target's health. You can't really control and target those shots, but they would just shoot at whatever closest and start doing some nice chip damage over the course of battle, similar to the machine gun blow dot of the Shredder of Lustria. The Gorgers here didn't do too well here, but yeah, once again, carried by the Thundertusk, and actually a little bit by the Ashen Man-Eaters as well. I feel like the Thundertusk definitely a bit overtuned right now, basically only 150 gold more than the regular Harpoon Launcher Stonehorn, while having similar if not the same missiles on the back with those Ogre Riders, and on top of that, the anti-infantry armor-piercing snowball artillery shot. The Thundertusk is just way better than your Harpoon Launcher Stonehorn in every way. I feel like the Thundertusk has to either be increased in cost or just get the missile ogres on top of them removed. Like, just give them anti-infantry artillery or anti-large artillery, not both at the same time. But otherwise, still a very fun unit to use. Really love those massive snowballs crushing enemy units. But yeah, that's it for today's battle. I hope you all enjoyed this little showcase of the DLC units of Omens of Destruction. If you want to see more content of the DLC of Total Warhammer, hit the like button down below and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical signing out.